Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
The world's center of racing. Replacing a sandy road course built on the beaches of northern Florida in 1959, it was to become not only the first oval in the United States other than Indianapolis to stretch over 1.5 miles, but also the first multi-purpose race facility with an accompanying road course. The layout has been changed slightly over the years, but tonight our Global MX-5 and GR86 Cup racers will lap the same 3.5 miles and 12 turns made famous at the Rolex 24, balancing outright speed with handling on a low-grip, flat infield course for round number 11, the season 23 finale of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, presented by Performa Elite. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and joining me in the commentary booth is Larry Lefty McLeod with Lee Thompson in the production truck, bringing you all the best camera angles and action that Apex Racing TV is known for. And so, Larry, you know, the last two rounds, rounds number 9 and 10, we were at Bathurst, we were at the Green Hell, and you know, tonight you can't be at a course more different than what they had there. But I think the one thing that you're going to see is, well, obviously they're going to be drafting around this big tri-oval or portions of it, and they're going to be reaching some of the same speeds that they were getting to on the Conrad Straight at Bathurst. But it should make for a very exciting and unique finale round here for the Touring Car Cup.
Yeah, as Arlo Guthrie once said, I'm here to talk about the draft because we're going to be seeing all kinds of it tonight on these two large straights connected by a chicane here at Daytona. You and I in real life have seen cars that are, let's say, less than powerful doing these kind of racing. We've seen actual MX-5 Cup cars in real life around here, and it is an absolute madness with the number of cars that stay alive in the draft. You know, our GR86s are going to be very similar. This is going to be insane for a very long time tonight. A full hour of this. It's going to be a great way to wind up this what's been a really great season.
Indeed, Larry. All right, so let's do this. We can talk all night long about the effects of the draft and whether 2 or 3 cars are best, whether bump drafting is the best, whether it's even possible without a partner to pull out and pass somebody on the banking, the 31-degree banking here at Daytona. But let's turn things over to Kevin Ford, as we do for every round of the Touring Car Cup, and he's going to give us tonight's track guide of Daytona.
Welcome, everyone, to Daytona International Speedway Road Course. Great to have you with us today as we provide you your track guide around this amazing track. This place is so full of excitement, and, of course, the historical value here of motorsports at Daytona, well, it goes unmatched. The World Center of Racing, here we go. Let's head up the front straightaway. Of course, our main grandstand's to the right, our pit entry there to the left. Drivers will be coming through here at a pretty high rate of speed. Once they're at speed, they'll come across the line at approximately 130 miles an hour in these cars. As they come down into turn 1, they'll track out wide and then get down into this very heavy braking zone, as this is a tight wrapping left-hander here. We'll get right down to the apex, get a good launch off of this corner as we come up through turn 2 here. Just a little S section. We'll want to track back left. Right there's pit exit. And then we'll come down into this tight rotation of turn 3. International Horseshoe, as it's known. Coming up off that corner, we'll get a good run here through the internal part of the road course. This is a slight kink to the left here of turn 4. Very fast section through this portion of the road course. And then down into the West Horseshoe here. This one's a doozy. Very tight wrapping, heavy braking once again. Come right back to throttle, open her up. Track out wide here, and then we'll head down into turn 6. This will bring us right back out onto the main portion of the 31-degree banking here. Very wide exit, great opportunity for overtaking. Getting a good run off that corner is important. You will see some drivers trying to overtake here, coming around this corner, picking up some good slipstream here, obviously. This is where the track is all about speed and all about those exits. Very critical to get good launch, not only out of that last corner at turn 6, but also down here at the chicane. This chicane wasn't a part of the original road course here at Daytona, believe it or not. It was added in 1973. Through the chicane, we'll come right back to the right. Pretty much wide open through there in this car. And then right back into our 31-degree banking here, hoping to pick up a lot of speed coming through this corner. And, of course, the slipstream. This is certainly one of the biggest overtaking opportunities, is coming out of the NASCAR turn 4 here, or turn 12 of the road course, as you head back down towards the tri-oval here and back across the stripe. Well, there you go. There's your track guide for the beautiful Daytona International Speedway Road Course. Thank you for being with us.
All right, and thanks to Kevin Ford for tonight's track guide of Daytona Speedway. And Larry, you can see there, even with Kevin Ford all alone, without any bump drafting help, without any drafting help as well, that MX-5 is able to get up and go around the banking. And these cars are going to be just even that much faster when they're working together. In talking to Eric Violette, who is running one of the GR86 Cup cars, and is actually currently leading our Club Sport Pro class here going into the final evening. You know, he's saying that you don't even have to line up, completely, square and center on the car ahead of you, at least in the GR86 Cup cars. You can be a little bit off center, even going around the banking, and still make the draft work here. and they all seem to draft incredibly well.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think the strategy tonight is going to be how do you use that at the right time in the right place, but also can you save fuel with it throughout, because we are going to have fuel stops. The drivers that are smart about that might be able to make up for maybe a bad corner or two where they come out of the draft with good fuel savings to get back in it near the end. The goal here in the last 20 minutes, you want to be in the lead pack. My guess, it might be a pack of 4. I think the way this goes in each class, I could see us with at least a pack of 4 in the Miatas and maybe a pack of 2 or 3 in the GR86s, but you want to be in one of those packs. So your strategy should be, I want to come out of my fuel stop in the second half of this race in that pack. So when it comes to the last 3 laps, I want to be second or even third coming out of that bus stop. And the whole hour, it comes down to one corner for one straightaway for the checker. It's
right.
that kind of night.
That's exactly what it's going to be like. All right, so heading out on track right now, we're starting qualifying here. 15 minutes of qualifying. We give our drivers 4 attempts to set their fastest lap and set the grid for tonight's race. And we're watching right now John Casey, John racing for Frito Sport Racing, finished 4th in one of our 2 rounds a week ago, or 2 weeks ago at Bathurst. So let's do this, Larry. Why don't we just take a quick look back at where things wrapped up as we had 2 different rounds 9 and 10 at Bathurst, and we'll take a quick look at where we currently stand in the championship. We're going to have one of our championship contenders coming in to speak with us, hopefully before we go racing here tonight. So we're going to start off with the Street Tuner AM class, and that is for our Mazda MX-5 drivers, where Ray Lombardi from Team Esport Racer, in round number 9, the first race at Bathurst 2 weeks ago, took his 6th win on the season, beating out Jeff Cranston and Robert Brist. And then we had, as we always do with these 2 race evenings, an inverted field. And for the top racers in both the Mazdas and also the Toyotas, Jeff Cranston took his 4th win of the season in the second race of the evening, with Lombardi finishing second to him. Then Robert Brist from RFC Racing and Mike Key. And so let's take a look at the championship standings currently, because it is incredibly close right now. And as we put the points up on the screen for Street Tuner AM, it may not seem all that close, but when we take into account the drops, I think we're going to be a little surprised here, as we currently show Jeffrey Cranston from Craney Customs with a 14-point advantage over Ray Lombardi right now. But I think, Larry, when we figure in the drops, and each of our racers can drop up to 2 rounds on the season, I think it comes out to only 2 points.
Yeah, math gets complicated, but we know it's close. I know it's close because Ray Lombardi messaged me to tell me it's close. So I know that he's looking at the numbers. He knows exactly what position he needs to overtake Jeff Cranston for the win for the season. And I'm sure Jeff is doing the same math on his side. That always makes it exciting when the drivers are super into it. And the folks at home, I'm sure Stubby's doing the same math. He knows where everybody stands.
That's right. Well, we know Stubby has to do the math for Bobby Childs. So that's where it stands right now. And Chuck Labano, I mean, he's only 9 points down currently when we don't figure out the drop. So he's probably pretty close in it as well. If we move over to Street Tuner Pro, Robert Hartley took the win in the first of 2 rounds. His Orion teammate finishing second, with Palakui Grant, who's battling it out for the championship right now with Hartley, finishing third, with his teammate Brennan Horn finishing 4th. And then on the second race of the evening, Robert Hartley took the win again. And I should mention that these are the first 2 wins on the season for Robert Hartley. They came at a very opportune time for the Orion racer. Ken Copland from Team Esport Racer finished second in the second race with Brennan Horan, and then Jordy Fike. So it was a good second race there for Team Esport Racer. And if we take a look at the championship standings in Pro, well, there you go. Robert Hartley showing a 2-point advantage currently over Palakui Grant. Hartley, as I mentioned, has 2 wins on the season. Grant has 3 wins on the season, and Brennan Horn, he's just kind of, he's working there for Team D2D, currently 3rd in the championship, 9 points back. And again, when we're showing these standings, we're not incorporating the possible drops that these racers can take. Let's move over to Club Sport and Club Sport AM, our our Toyota GR86s, where Joey Rutledge took his 4th win of the season for the wrong stuff, with Russ Ruddick finishing second for Flying Tortoise, and Tom Jenkins, along with Brad Husty, finishing 3rd and 4th for Midfield Motorsports. And then in the second race of the evening, taking his very first win on the season, Russ Ruddick from Flying Tortoise, with Joey Rutledge finishing second. Paul Carey had a great run, finished 3rd in the number 141 Carey Racing Machine, and then John John Casey, who we're watching right now, finishing 4th in that second round. And if we take a look at the point standings currently with 4 wins on the season, I'd say running away with it at this point. Joey Rutledge from the wrong stuff with 240 points, a 32-point advantage currently over Russ Ruddick, with Tom Jenkins only showing a single point down. So the Midfield Motorsports driver definitely in the hunt right now here in this championship, at least for second, and his Midfield Motorsports teammate Brad Husty only 6 points back from there. So let's move over to now Club Sport Pro. And this is probably, I think, Larry, the one event or the one class that has pretty much got it wrapped up here, championship standings wise. D2D Racing's Eric Violette took win number 7 in the first round at Bathurst, beating out Kevin Ford by 63 hundredths of a second. It was a great run by Kevin. Scotty Banks finishing 3rd, and then in the second race, Banks came back to take his first win of the season for Team Volta, with Bobby Childs from D2D finishing 2nd, and Tom Rathke from Granite State finishing 3rd. And if we take a look at the championship standings, it is Eric Violette currently with 293 points. That's 23 up on Scott Banks from Team Volta, who has 2 wins on the season. Tom Rathke from Granite State with 1 win on the season, currently sitting 3rd in the championship. But I think as we were doing the math, it's going to be very difficult for Eric Violette not to take the championship there in Club Sport Pro.
Yeah, well, he has been a benchmark all season long, so no real surprises there. But we have a lot of different races happening tonight, and a lot of folks are going to be gunning for that overall. So should Eric have, I'm sure he'd like to wind up the season with 1 more win, but Scott Banks, Tom Rathke, and a few others are trying to knock him off of that perch, even if it is just for tonight.
All right, so let's do this, Larry, as we've got some drivers out on track. I think we still have a few of them out on track circulating and putting in qualifying times. Hopefully we can get some of those times up on the screen, and we're looking right now at Robert Schwenkler for the wrong stuff. He is currently your fastest driver on track, and as we take a look here, he has you'll notice the orange mirrors on his Toyota GR86. That means not only is he the fastest driver on course currently, but he is your provisional pole sitter in Club Sport AM. And if you take a look at the timing tower on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll notice that the positions are listed out with different colors. So Schwenkler is showing with orange, running 2nd in with those orange colors, and in Club Sport AM is the 118 machine of Leo Dragata, and then Brad Husty currently running 3rd in that class. If we want to take a look then at the Club Sport Pro drivers, Eric Violette, currently your fastest driver, put in a 210.06. There he is in the number 89 D2D Racing machine. And you can pick out the Club Sport Pro drivers. They've got the black mirrors on the car, and thank you, Lee, for putting up the guide there up at the top of the screen so we can pick out the different classes. And then if we take a look then over at Street Tuner, which are our Mazda MX-5s, Chris Thorman, who is not currently on track at the moment, he is your fastest of the Street Tuner Pro drivers, with Robert Hartley, who we're going to be talking to in just a few seconds here, Larry, only 63 thousandths off of Thorman's provisional pole. Looks like they're going to be starting next to one another when we take the green here in just a few moments. And then if we take a look at Street Tuner AM, and those are the ones that are pointing out positions in green, they will have green mirrors on their cars. Ray Lombardi, he is your provisional pole sitter, with Jeffrey Cranston 2nd fastest, and a pretty big gap between those 2 drivers. I think we're looking at, let's see, somewhere about a half a second separating those 2 drivers, and then 3rd fastest is Chuck Lobano currently.
of all the tracks we run, this is probably the one where qualifying might be the least critical.
Yeah.
The only thing that
Exactly.
a poor qualifying can do for you is if there is any sort of incident, whether it be a turn one incident or somewhere in on the horseshoes on that opening lap, you're more likely to get caught up in it if you're near that middle to back of the pack. So maybe you just want to be, for safety reasons, kind of towards the front of either your Toyota field or your Mazda field. But otherwise, I'm sure someone could qualify 10th and still win this thing tonight in each of their respective classes.
Yeah, this is one of those courses, Larry, where it's going to be very difficult because of how strong the draft is here. And again, talking to Eric Violet, at least in the Toyotas, he thinks that even a second and a half off of the car in front of you will still keep you in the draft. It's going to be very hard to separate yourself out. But let's do this. It looks like we've got Robert Hartley from Orion Racing sitting in the green room. Let's pull in our current leader in Street Tuner Pro and talk to him.
All right, we've got Rob Hartley here, who is, as you just mentioned, the points leader in ST Pro. But Rob, coming into tonight, it's a little bit of pressure coming on. I know you're kind of looked at as sort of a Mazda MX-5 expert in this field, like a lot of experience there, but you got some strong contenders trying to knock you down. How serious are you taking tonight? How badly do you want this tonight?
I'm gonna take it very serious. I'm lucky to be back in this position, to be honest with you, after the start to the season I had. I fought back, had some good wins in the last race, and got me back in the hunt for this. So I'm gonna take it serious. I'm gonna try to do what I can to get the win tonight.
So it's probably going to come down to that draft strategy that these MX-5s on this track always do. There might be a pack of 2, there could be a pack of 8 or 9. Have you been able to practice those kind of scenarios in this week, or are you going to have to rely on maybe some of your experience from practices and races in the past?
Haven't had much practice in the draft, but I've been in this position a lot, so I kind of know what I got to do. I'm gonna pace myself, the first half of the race, and then after we get our pit stops in, it's gonna be game on.
Yeah, it seems to be the way to go. Get through that pit stop and see how it plays out there. So it's important tonight to get through cleanly in those first couple laps. There's going to be some field, though. You guys might find yourself catching the back of the GR86s. Is there a speed advantage for the GR86s anywhere, or can you use them as a draft as well if you're coming up on some lap traffic?
Yeah, once we catch the back of them guys, I think I'm going to use them as much as I can. We got a pretty good advantage over them in the draft. The same with them, though. As soon as they get in our draft, they're right on us. So it's going to be a wild finish if we're in the back of them cars.
All right. Well, hopefully you've, maybe practice your speeches and, get ready, whether it be the consolation speech and congrats to the other guy, or maybe a winning speech. Hopefully you've got a couple ready, because you're going to be in it tonight. There's definitely going to be someone's going to walk away with the overall prize, and maybe it'll be you. But good luck tonight. And with any luck, maybe in about an hour, we'll get a chance to talk to you again.
That's right, guys. All these guys are fast tonight. Chris Thorman, he's really fast. I got to deal with Schwinky and Brennan, all them guys. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it will be. So enjoy tonight and have a good race.
All right, everybody, there you go. Robert Hartley from Orion Racing, currently your points leader in Street Tuner Pro. And he is qualified, he's qualified on the front row for the Street Tuners. So it's battle on as we've got our field, I think, Larry, actually already underway here on the pace lap behind the pace car. So let's take a look at the starting order. And these are broken up. We've got them broken up by the 4 different classes as opposed to where the true position is. But we're going to have the Toyotas gridded up ahead of the Mazdas. And Robert Schwenkler is your pole sitter. He is from Street Tuner, or probably from Club Sport AM, with Eric Violet from Club Sport Pro right next to him. That's Scotty Banks and Bobby Childs. Then Kevin Ford, Tom Rathke, Tom Jacobs, Leo Dragata as they start to make their way around, still behind the pace car, which will be pitting in momentarily. Then Brad Husty and Paul Carey, Russ Ruddick, John Casey, as the field now is nicely formed up, and we're going to see the pace car head down to the pit lane. There it goes. Looks like Mr. Carey Larry taking a little look to the inside, Larry, as they are now in the start zone waiting for the real-life starter to give the go, and we are racing. And look at the advantage that Schwenkler just in that acceleration zone had opened up, but he's almost left out there to dry as the inside row starts to come down the inside into turn one on him.
Yeah. Eric Violet looked like he was bunching up that outside lane a little bit. May have cost him as he now slots up into that third spot with the pack now forming in behind him. But you're right, Schwenkler, great start. A couple of car lengths advantage all by himself as they go through the horseshoe for the first time.
All right, and our Mazdas, they get the green now with Thorman and Lombardi, Schwenke, Brennan Horn, David Payton, Jordy Fike, Jeff Cranston, Chuck Labano, and they'll be making their way into turn one here momentarily. But let's stay with the Toyotas for a moment here as they now come down into the second, into the Western Horseshoe, and they're going to make the run now down towards the entrance to the oval for the very first time. It is Robert Schwenkler. He's got about 2.5 car lengths on Bobby Childs, who did manage, as you mentioned, to get around his teammate Eric Violet and Scotty Banks and Tom Rathke, Kevin Ford, and for the moment all lined up here, and this is where we're going to see that draft take an effect in that advantage that Schwenkler had coming onto the oval or the tri-oval. Larry, probably not going to hold by the time they get down into the bus stop.
It may not. The draft is just going to be really strong. I know in the Mazdas especially, the draft is extremely strong. Maybe not quite in the GR86s, but still it's there. You'll see Schwenkler already coming into that bus stop with Bobby right on his tail. We'll see how this goes and see if behind them, if Violet or Banks can get a run and get up. You can see already the top four are starting to pull away a little bit of a gap there to Rathke and Finn. Yeah,
and there you go. There was your four that you were talking about in qualifying, and we're starting to already see it there where we've got two different packs opening it up here in the GR86s and the Mazdas. It appears to be actually, as we would expect in the Mazdas, the first 8 or 9 cars still locked maybe a half a car length apart, as our racers in the Toyotas now coming down to start lap number 2, going into the left-hander turn 1. Schwenkler, it looked as though he might have turned in a little early, might have been trying to hold the car in, but manages to get through that complex and then into the little bend over turn 2 safely. Great little fight a little bit further back. We've got Rodney Carey there and Marlon Jones. And here we go, jumping over to the Mazdas, Larry.
Mazda mayhem as the 6-pack starting to go too wide down into turn 1. All kinds of craziness going on down there as it looks like Thorman leading the way, and behind them it's a crapshoot at this point of who actually holds second. It looks like Schwenke's got it for the moment with Ray Lombardi, Brennan Horn, and the rest as they all slot in there.
And and Larry, I feel sort of bad now keeping Robert Hartley in the announce booth for so long. He lost, I think, 9 positions on that opening lap, as he is now sitting back 7th in Street Tuner Pro, and I think in all of the Mazdas sitting about 10th.
Yeah, that's not completely out of the realm of possibility to come back from that as long as the pack stays tight. You can see right there that train is pretty snug, but there's that gap. And I want to say it's just after Cranston is the gap. So Hartley, if he's not up to that front group, is going to get a lot harder to try and catch them as the night moves on.
And look at this little fight here. This is the battle for third right now in Club Sport AM. And running wide and into the grass is Russ Ruddick. He was leading the pack with Tom Jenkins, Brad Husty, and Paul Carey, and he just got the bus stop all wrong, Larry.
Yeah, you come into there wrong, and it's a lot of speed you got to carry, and at some point you're going to have to take that speed down. Didn't take enough. Lucky for him, didn't seem to take on much damage, but lost a lot of time and maybe a little bruised ego.
Yeah, I think he might have been spending a little bit more time watching the cars directly in his mirrors and right behind him, as he had the 3 cars starting to fan out rather than maybe checking up for the braking zone here. But as we jump back over to our Club Sport racers, and look at this side-by-side battle with Kevin Ford in that red and white machine, Tom Rathke in the number 41, the white car directly beside him. and they're going to go into the International Horseshoe side by side, as looks like Tom Jenkins has a bit of an issue.
Yeah, just a little bit coming down into turn 1 off of that banking. Don't see any damage on him, though, at least. Lucky for him.
Oh, but he had some issues going into the International Horseshoe there, Larry. Maybe he does have some damage on the back of the car, the way it just kind of jumped out on him. But let's move over to our street tuners, to the Mazda MX-5s, as we are watching now Chris Thorman and Travis Schwenke, Ray Lombardi in the white and blue number 84 for Team Esport Racer, sitting in 3rd position, and then David Payton in the number 64 D2D e-racing machine. But as opposed to the Mazdas, or probably as opposed to the Toyotas, where we have seen that group of 4 or so already start to stretch out and move away from the rest of the field, this is your typical Mazda racing, Larry, where you're like 12 cars deep. Yep. And many of them still side by side when they come out onto the oval.
Yeah, and so what I'm waiting to see is, can Rob Hartley get himself back into this? You can see him all by himself a whole chunk of time there behind Jeff Cranston. So right now there's nothing. You can see him all by himself back there at the back of the field. He's probably about 3 seconds behind Cranston, and maybe he can catch up, and then he's going to have to pull up to Copeland and all the rest of those Mazdas if he wants a shot at Thorman, Schwenke, Lombardi, who are currently leading that group. Thorman came to play tonight, I'll tell you that.
That definitely, and we just saw one of the D2D drivers, and I think it may have been, or maybe it was D2D. It might have actually been Chuck Labano in the 34 machine, taking what I would only call an alternate line down into the bus stop. There's the number 34 machine, and tried to get underneath Jordy Fike going into the bus stop, and Fike covered it pretty darn well.
Look at that train as they start moving up quickly on Thorman, as I think Lombardi in there pushing on Schwenke.
Yeah, and Larry, it appears as though we saw Tom Jenkins go off a little bit earlier on the previous lap in multiple drivers going off.
Schwenke and Lombardi, I think, coming together in there.
Yeah, that was the battle for second, and they are both going to drop down through the field now. Lombardi in the 84 machine goes from 3rd down to in the Mazdas, I think 9th position or 7th position. Pardon me.
Yeah. And already under review, as those two came together at they're trying to occupy the same piece of real estate. Did not work. The Lombardi slots in. Is that right in front? I guess he's got right in front of Schwenke. But look at this now as they come side by side down through 1. Schwenke runs a little wide, and then they just get tangled and just know where to go. Once those two cars come together, it's almost like magnets. Just grab them both and just pull them together.
Yeah, and I kind of feel for the 84 machine there. I think there was just probably not the 84. But
Schwenke in the 16.
Well, Schwenke came in so shallow into turn number 1, Larry, and I think may have fallen out of the been a little bit difficult to see him in the mirrors coming through 1 and then into 2, and he just kind of got pinched down a little bit. But I was going to mention that Tom Jenkins in the 68 Toyota that we saw had some issues on the previous lap. He did bring his car down the pit lane. And so there may have been some mechanical issues with that car. He now rejoins, but he's at the tail end of the field.
Yep, watching now as these guys continue to race on. It's just this draft bunches everybody up, even here in the GR86, as Jeff Jacobs runs a little bit wide there going into 1. I hear a Dragota apologizing there as Leo kind of maybe forced him out a little bit, but Jeff continues. It's a good little battle there for that. What is it? The 4th, 5th spot.
The battle for 4th in pro. Kevin Ford, Tom Rathke, Leo Dragota was there, and who was running 2nd in AM, and then Jeff Jacobs. But 3 of the 4 drivers all looking for 4th place in pro currently. As Schwenkler continues to keep his advantage over the rest of the pro field.
But these Mazdas are just incredible as they continue to bunch up, and you can just see that front, well, I guess it's about 9 cars coming together with Thornton and Payton, the D2Ds, right at the front of it, and Brennan Horn. So it's a D2D 1, 2, 3 right now in the Mazdas. And Bobby currently holding his own in the GR86s as well, with Violet behind him. So right now, D2D covers 2 out of the top 3 in the field of Toyotas, and the front 3 in the field of Mazdas.
Yeah, and Bobby in practice this week had the fastest time all week for the Toyotas, for the Club Sport racers. I believe it was at a 2:10 and change, if I remember correctly. I'll have to dig that up. But again, was coming into tonight had the fastest times. And you can see there is now Brennan Horn. He's as he had fallen just a little bit off the back of his two D2D teammates. You know, there is the effect of the draft as Jordy Fike and Ray Lombardi are able to work together and push past the number 45 car.
And well, also in that pack, there is that number 3, Rob Hartley. He's making his way back, a little bit of recovery. Look at him right in the middle of this group.
And now we see where Lombardi in the 84 machine gets kind of hung out to dry there.
He's going to use that draft to get right back in it. It's a long way to go from bus stop around to start finish.
All right, and so now moving to the front of the pack in the Mazdas is Jordy Fike in the red and white 09 machine as he gets past the number 60. Then we've got Chris Thorman and Ken Copeland makes an appearance now in the top 5. He's running 4th of our Mazdas with David Payton, who was in the lead pack just a moment ago. He now finds himself back and forth.
It's all right at this point, let the lead goose do what they got to do, and you can come in right behind the flock and maybe save a little bit of fuel in these early stages of the race. So it's not a problem to not be leading. You just want to be in this top group. And right now, top group means about the top 9 when it comes to Mazdas. If you're in this train, you could win this thing. You just got to stay in it for 45 more minutes or so.
Yeah, I guess the key there is, as long as you can stay in the train, as long as you can stay in the draft and you don't get hung out to dry, maybe run wide coming off of the infield and have the whole field get past you and then lose the draft. But again, it's so difficult here to lose the draft. You really have to be almost 15 car lengths or so back, as we're watching right now. John Casey alongside Rodney Carey. Oh, and Casey goes around going into the bus stop, and John Casey now into the tire wall.
Kind of looked like for a minute there Casey was going to be all right. They sort of touched on the way in and maybe just got the car a little bit out of sorts. Into the wall he goes. That's an unfortunate way to go. He was in that battle with Rodney Carey and I think Marlon Jones.
Yeah.
So
and I don't think he got tapped. I think it was just an issue as he was going in there.
And I think he's got some damage, so he may be looking at an early pit stop here to get some repairs. As this front group, this foursome, has really pulled themselves away. And again, a little bit more difficult to pack up in the Toyotas while we're seeing 9 Mazdas deep, still only 4 Toyotas able to do this breakaway. And it's kind of the ones you'd expect. Your pole sitter, Schwenkler, Bobby Childs, Eric Violet, and Scott Banks. All of them vying for this at this early stages. But you notice that whether it be Bobby or even Bobby's teammate, Eric Violet, really no hurry to get up behind Schwenkler. They're almost letting him do his thing, and maybe they're saving some fuel back there.
Yeah, I was going to say, save the fuel as long as you can, and, worry about it in the last 2 laps or so.
Yeah.
Looks like stewards have come back with a decision on the early incident that we had, or early contact we had, between Ray Lombardi and Travis Schwenke, and no action taken, ruled a racing incident. Lombardi is currently your Club Sport AM leader, and Schwenke, who had been up at the top of Club Sport Pro, currently sitting 7th in class.
This Mazda pack just continues to do what it does. They start looking single file, and by the time they get to the flagger stand, there's usually a pair somewhere side by side. It's just whether or not they want to get up and try and pass Thorman for the front spot, or if they hang in behind, because right now Thorman and is that Brennan Horn right behind him? Jordy Fike up in there.
All right, and looks like ruled no incident or no action taken by the stewards in that spin where we saw Paul Casey go off into the tires over by the bus stop, or now known as the Le Mans chicane, as we've got a new leader in club sport, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, Bobby Childs from D2D eRacing, getting around Robert Schwenkler. So Childs will now take the point, and this may be Schwenkler's opportunity, maybe to save a little fuel.
Yeah, he might just take that opportunity. That might have been why he was okay with letting Bobby get on by. And if Bobby continues to lead more laps, we're going to have to start calling him Robert as well. We'll just call him Robert Childs, like Robert Schwenkler, and keep everybody the same name for, to make it easy. I don't even know if he is a Robert, but it would make sense. Looking pretty good, though, as they head onto the banking out of the infield section. And we'll see what Schwenkler does behind him. Does he decide to stay there because it's time to save fuel, or does he actually think he's going to make it pass? Looking like he just might just
giving the little shove.
A little bit of push, yep. Maybe save some fuel while pushing the front of the field along. But you got to be careful with these cars, though. They get a little bit touchy if you're not quite square.
Well, and this is what Hartley was saying during the week during practice. If they weren't square, the Toyotas were actually handling it okay. Mm-hmm. That it didn't upset them all that much. Although we just saw there where Schwenkler, as he was giving a little bit of a rub to the back of Bobby Childs, loosened Bobby up just a little bit. But we'll see what happens here again.
No interest in passing him. He's just okay pushing him along, and maybe he wants to keep the two D2D teammates separated here. Maybe that's a bit of a strategy as well. If he can stay between them, maybe he can avoid later in the race a bit of a bum rush. He can also work on this concept of where's Bobby faster. So if it comes down to one corner, one turn, maybe he'll know what Bobby's tendencies are. You might even see him drop behind Eric Violet at some point and see what Eric's tendencies are. Mm-hmm. And the guy sitting back is Scotty Banks, who's just going to keep an eye on all of it. No one's behind him, so he gets a good view of everyone else's tendencies going on in front.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see there where Schwenkler, he backed off somewhat early from Childs coming down into turn number one, but being able to do that and not being locked to the rear bumper, gives you an opportunity to see, where Childs is typically braking into turn one, and if there's going to be an opportunity a little bit later for Schwenkler maybe to, late brake a little bit, go around the outside, and and just see how the number 88 machine handles these situations.
Yeah, and you also saw there, even though they all take different lines, Eric Violet didn't seem to have any interest in going by Schwenkler. It was just okay to let him get back into line. So I really think these guys are really considering their fuel strategies, knowing it could come down to, if two of them have a good fuel stop, maybe they end up with their two-car breakaway. If the others struggle and have to take on more fuel, it may be difficult to catch up to that front two. So that may be part of the thought right now, is make that fuel stop as short as possible. Maybe get it down to, maybe it's an all D2D breakaway, unless Schwenkler or Banks can stay in it. Seeing that profile picture of Bobby, wondering if the hair comes out of the helmet in his car and slows him down with the extra drag, or if he tucks it in, makes a little ponytail out of it or something.
Yeah, no man bun for Bobby.
Oh, I could see him in a man bun. Totally. Hope he's not listening to us while he's driving. Schwenkler may have gotten a slowdown on the inside. I'm not sure. He seems to be letting folks on by.
Exactly. As we now have D2D's Eric Violet and then the Team Volta driver going by as well, Scotty Banks.
Well, I'll tell you what, my experience says that the best way to serve one of those penalties is get to the slowest corner and just take a little longer while you're in it. Giving up a little bit of time in the straightaway is all right, but what you want to do is get down into turn one or into the horseshoe and then just take a little bit of time getting through that corner. And if he could have kept his position doing it without lifting on the front straight, you give your position while serving the penalty.
Sure.
You might be able to give it without really sacrificing too much track position.
Sacrificing a bunch of distance.
Yeah.
Here.
Absolutely.
All right,
Back
there
into
is
four
Marlon
wide.
Jones in the 25 car trying to make his way through our lead pack of Mazdas, and or it might be the other way around, but he's hanging high to allow Jordy Fike, Robert Hartley, and did we just mention Robert Hartley in the number 3 machine there along with Chris Thorman? That is your top 3 right now in Street Tuner Pro.
Interesting that there has now been that breakaway in the Mazdas where it was a pack of 9. Look at that. You've got that front 3 of Fike and Thorman, Hartley.
Oh, and Jordy Fike. And Larry, at first I thought maybe it was some brake lockup, but there was a lot of smoke out of the back of the 09 machine. And I think Jordy Fike pulling to the side there.
I wonder if he aggressively downshifted coming into turn 1, grabbed gears too quickly, and sent the motor to the moon, because it ain't going to be, it's going to be an early sunset for him as his race is done.
Wow, and that is a shame, as Jordy Fike was leading this race early on, and his night, as we now say, is over. As we jump back over to the Street Tuners and Bobby, or probably to Club Sport, I'll get it right eventually, where Bobby Childs now and Eric Violette are your top 2, with Team Volta's Scotty Banks, and then the Wrong Stuff's Robert Schwenkler sitting in 3rd. We saw Schwenkler, we think, serve that penalty on the previous lap, and as you mentioned, Larry, you know, if you get the timing right, it doesn't affect you much at all.
Yeah, there's ways to serve it if you're smart about it, and these guys are all very experienced drivers. They know how to get those penalties and how to serve them, because if you come out of the bus stop just a little bit too far to the grass side, it'll give you a little bit of about a 1 or 1.2 second course penalties. So you got to really watch those and then learn how to serve them. But this group here being very calculated, everyone's going to get their turn front, which means there may in the end not be any fuel save advantage to anybody. Bobby right now at the point. Of course, we saw Schwenkler there for quite a while. Wouldn't be surprised if at some point here Bobby and Eric Violet maybe let Scott Banks even get to the front. So we'll have to keep our eye on the strategy here as we come up here on the 22 minutes into this race. A little more than a third of the way. We've got to start thinking about when to make it, how to make that pit stop.
Well, and Larry, we're already starting to see some of our Toyota drivers, some of our Club Sport Pro drivers make that determination to make it early, as both Tom Moravsky and also Edgar Sancinelli came down into the pit lane on lap number 10. And we were looking for the Toyotas of the pit window opening up rather early, opening up as early as lap number 6 in this race. So very early in, and we'll see here if they come out in a gap in traffic. But you know, at this race course, Larry, I don't think the plan, or I don't think the strategy would be to come out in a gap. I think it's going to be more of a question of when, you know, that you want to come out behind somebody that can pull you around the racetrack a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. You want to come out in the right pack, I think, is the key here. It's not about being in the front or in the back of a pack. It's being in the right one. If you're in a pack of 4 like these guys are, yeah, you just want to be in that pack. You don't really care which position you're in. You just want to be in it. Same thing in the Mazdas, which, by the way, the Mazdas have kind of turned into a 2-car pack with Thorman and Hartley after we saw the blown engine for Jordy Fike. Brennan Horn, Jeff Cranston, David Payton, they've all dropped about a second or so, maybe almost 2 seconds behind that front, too. We'll see if they can make it up good traffic. But already in the Mazdas, down to a 2-car fight right now. And look at this in the Toyotas here. Banks may get his shot to lead a lap. We'll see what the DTD boy do on the inside. They're going to push each other.
It isn't going to be this lap as Eric Violette beat him to the line. So no point for leading a lap here.
But now it's Eric's
Violet,
turn.
Childs, and Banks.
Yeah, Eric now with a chance to take the point in this. Banks may still yet get his chance, as both Bobby, of course, and Rob Schwenkler have had their chance. So now maybe it's a chance for Violet. And Banks can just sit back and wait. No rush, no need.
So oddly, Larry, as I'm looking at our timing screen here, I'm showing that Rob Hartley, who, as we jump over right now, is down on the inside. There he is in that white and blue number 3 machine. I'm showing that Hartley has already made a run down the pit lane, but the timing is wildly off. It showed like over 2 minutes of pit lane time.
That would be very strange. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure what's going on there because he's clearly, well, side by side for the lead of the race right now.
Exactly.
So I don't think he's come down the pits. In fact, not only has that happened, is the pack has caught them.
Yes,
So
it
you've
has.
got that Brennan Horn, David Payton, Jeff Cranston, that whole group now has got, and Brennan Horn. Yeah, there's a few others that have caught him. So now it's at least that 5-car pack. So as Thorman and Hartley fight, maybe that's part of the strategy. Bring more into the fight because it creates a wild card. Maybe a mono fight isn't what one of these guys wanted.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I'm looking to see if and we can see from looking at this pack, Travis Schwenke, Hartley's teammate, is not part of that group of cars that is working their way back up towards the leader. Schwenke is still mired all the way down in, it looks to be somewhere around 10th position overall for the
that
Mazdas.
goes back to the issue of the entanglement that he had with Lombardi earlier in this race. And when that happened, he was the slower one to recover, and now he finds himself about 14, 15 seconds or so out of this race. Tough for Schwenke, because I'm sure Rob Hartley would love to have a teammate up there with him if he could.
Look at this, taking a dive down to the inside. Bobby Childs, and he's going to come out side by side with his teammate Eric Violette as they come through turn number 2. At first, I thought it was just a move by Bobby to try and hold off the number 7 machine of Banks, and might be something else. But Bobby Childs,
it's a recovery. Bobby able to hold it together, but he might have fallen out of the draft. All that side-by-side business may have got him a little bit out of rhythm.
For Bobby.
Yeah, he maybe got out of rhythm, maybe even got his tires a little bit overheated, going a bit offline and maybe sliding a little bit, and that big slide just cost him a couple seconds, about 2.5 of them. It's going to be tough to recover as he's out of the draft from that front group. I wonder if now might be a better time to stop for his pit stop and take your chances that maybe you'll pair up with somebody while the rest of them later on will end up stopping.
Well, certainly, Larry, I guess seeing that we're firmly within the window, it may not matter that much, but given that if he comes out onto this oval and he's not in the draft, he's going to be consuming a heck of a lot more fuel than the 3 cars ahead of him. So it might be a very good idea to bring the car in.
Yeah, here's another option for teammates to work together is Eric leading the race. Bobby now 2.5 seconds behind them, though, or so. Eric could start to, especially the next time they get to the infield, force a side-by-side.
Yeah.
Make an aggressive move and start getting people off their rhythm and give Bobby a chance to get back up. All it takes is a couple side-by-sides through the infield horseshoes, and Bobby will be right back into this. So I'll be curious if Eric does that for him and gives that chance to get Bobby into this front 4 again.
Yeah, because we can see already just that short time on the oval, Bobby losing even more time as he's about 2.7 seconds back from the rest of the field. And it was interesting, Larry, because just as that was starting to unfold there, and as Bobby went in side by side with his teammate, I was about to mention that so far as we now have Eric Violette, he's going to come down the pit lane, and Bobby will come along with them. So this is where they're going to hook back up, Larry.
Yeah,
it appears is when they rejoin. But I found it very interesting. I was going to say that you could see the difference in strategy between the Club Sport drivers in the Toyotas versus the Street Tuner drivers in the Mazdas. That the Street Tuner drivers are running it like every lap is their last lap, and and the Toyotas were much better at it. And you're seeing it even again right here with Hartley and Thorman side by side coming down, heading in towards turn 1.
Well, I just kept an eye on the D2D boys coming in for their stop in the Club Sports, and Bobby also a little bit slower out of the pits than Eric. So they're not quite coming out together. We'll see if Eric backs off a little bit to help Bobby pair up, but we'll keep our eyes on that. As there you can see Eric coming out of the horseshoe, about maybe 3-4 seconds in front of Bobby, who's just now going through the exit of the horseshoe. But you're right about the tuner crowd here, is these guys are fighting like every single lap is for an extra point, like a NASCAR race or something, but they're having a good time out there, I'll tell you that. And Thorman right now leading that pack, but look at the 7 of them all grouped together. This is anybody's race. The question now is who finishes first to come in for their pit stops.
And we'll have to see that as we are just now at about the halfway point here at Daytona. And whereas we've had a number of our Toyota drivers, not a number, we've had a few of our Toyota drivers already make the run down the pit lane. We haven't seen that so far on the Mazda side. And I think at this point, these drivers are kind of afraid to go and pit in from being part of this train. They don't want to be the ones that then come out on track all by themselves and not have the draft here.
Yeah, we've watched a lot of races of these Mazdas in particular. We've seen it at tracks like Road America, even we've done races here at Daytona where staying in the pack almost always serves a better result than being the guy that pits early, because the early pitters often never get on pace. Whereas if you pit late, you stay with the pack and use that draft with the rest of the field as long as possible, your average lap times will ultimately be faster. And I think these guys are starting to learn that lesson, and none of them want to be that first one to flinch unless, like we saw with the GR86s, you go in as a pack with your teammates. Then you can buddy up, and now you got someone you can really get some great lap times down after your pit stop.
So the question is then, with the 3 D2D drivers behind Robert Hartley, do they hope that he is just the one to flinch, and do they wait for Hartley to go in?
I tell you, right now, if you're that pack of D2Ds, they're obviously not as they go to the high side. Right now would have been an incredible time to stop and leave Hartley all by himself. That would have been impressive, because you would have taken him, forced him, and his Thorman's going to go around.
And he's going to go around, and I thought for a moment, Larry, he was going to get into his teammate, David Payton. And it looks like game over now for Chris Thorman as he impacts the Armco and loses quite a bit of hardware.
He just made his ND Miata look like an NC Miata, a little bit more of a scrushed front end there. And unfortunately, he's got some damage on that car. Look at these.
No smile on the front bumper, unfortunately.
No, that is a sad face Mazda if I ever saw one.
Oh my! That may change the equation quite a bit, Larry, as that is going to leave David Payton there to battle with Robert Hartley, and Brennan Horn looked as though he was having a little trouble keeping up the pace of those front cars, and you can see it right there.
I think he had to check up, and Thorman came across probably more than anybody else, and so that gap created between Payton in second and Horn in third. But it's only about 8/10. That's achievable through the draft, so I think you'll see Brennan as well as Ray and Jeff, the Lombardi-Cranston duo right behind there, battling it out for the top 2 position in the AM category. Those two guys would love to catch up and play a mix in the pro class battle as well in front of them. So I think that'll happen here on this lap as that draft really starts to take over. And look at that, Cranston already up under the deck lid of Ray Lombardi as they come down towards the bus stop, or the Le Mans chicane.
Le Mans chicane.
Us old people, we're having trouble calling it the Le Mans chicane. But we'll get there.
No offense to Paul Newman. When we go back to Lime Rock, I'm going to have trouble calling it the Paul Newman Straight also.
The Sam Posey Straight.
Well, the Posey Straight, that's the front straight. The No Name Straight is now the Paul Newman Straight.
It has a name.
Yes, it is no longer No Name. It's Paul Newman's name.
All these tracks naming their no names. What are they thinking? All right, well, you can see here that Brennan did catch up right to the back of David Payton. Hartley, though, a good run out of the bus stop, was able to hold the field behind him, at least for one lap. But again, I'm surprised these D2D guys aren't thinking maybe it's time that the two of them maybe go in and leave Hartley all by himself without a draft partner.
Well, so the question then becomes, when you've got Lombardi and Rathke only, a couple tenths of a second then back behind the 2 D2D racers, if those two drivers drop off, is it still possible for the 84 machine to get into Hartley's draft, and suddenly Hartley's not left out to dry?
Yeah, that's why I think if you go now, though, you leave no one close enough, because you would have the Lombardi-Cranston battle about 2 seconds back from Hartley, and Payton and Horan would then be able, at least they come out together, and you throw a bit of a wild card. It only works if the teammates decide to come in at the same time.
And neat little battle here. This is the battle for second overall. Leo Dragata in that blue and yellow number 118 machine. He currently is your second place runner in AM. Kevin Ford, your leader in Club Sport Pro currently in the number 32 machine.
Yeah, because if I got this right, Scott Banks, I'm not sure we caught that, has also pit, and he's just
as
in
has
front
Eric Violet.
Yeah, we watched Violet and Childs both came in as they were a couple seconds apart when they came out, but Banks has come in. He's actually right in front of Bobby Childs. Dragota, though, and Ford have not, as Schwenkler just dove into the pit now. So while this Dragota is now your overall leader of the race, as well as your AM leader in class, so the youth leading the not so youthy of Kevin Ford.
Awesome.
As they are different classes, but the two of them respectively leading their two classes right now. Young Leo leading the entire race here at 35 minutes in.
That's right. And for those of you, if you want to go back and watch the replay of last week's World Challenge race, Leo had a heck of a run.
Yeah.
In his Porsche.
Yeah, he's come on strong lately. It's great to see the youth really starting to have this takeover here. But Kevin's not ready to give it up as the veteran in the series here. He's not going to let the young kid get away from him. But we'll see if these two end up stopping at the same time here very soon, and if they end up locked into this battle for the next 25 minutes.
Well, and that's what I want to see, Larry, because we're getting right up at the top of the hour. And so we do need to take a break, but I want to see if we'll give it another lap or so and see if these two work it out. So it is Leo Dragota, currently your overall leader in the number 118 Dragon Sport machine. Kevin Ford in the number 32. I believe he's running for Frito Sport, if I remember correctly. He is your pro leader. And the 38 of Jeff Jacobs, he's a little bit further behind. There's a lapped car sitting right between them. And there's Jacobs and Brad Husty from Midfield Motorsports.
Also worth noting, we talked about Schwenkler, who was leading this race, came in, did his stop. He came in right about halfway between Eric Violet and Scott Banks, Bobby Childs. So it's about 3 seconds from Violet to Schwenkler, 3 seconds from Schwenkler to the Banks Childs duo behind them. And that they're kind of the pseudo leaders, obviously. Dragota and Ford, they are actually leading this race, but they are yet to make their stop, as we're kind of keeping an eye on can Schwenkler catch Eric Violet before he gets away, so and maybe make a run at this thing in the closing stages.
Well, looks like we're going to go at least one more lap before they pit in, Larry, as we're watching here. Again, side by side, David Payton, Robert Hartley.
Yeah, these guys continuing to fight it out.
And here we go. Oh!
That was Lombardi, wasn't it?
That was Lombardi on the pit lane, Larry, as he was trying to get the car underway. And I think he may have impacted the wall, though he's carrying a good amount of speed there. But it's Hartley, it's Lombardi. Ken Copeland pits in as well, directly behind. Let's take a look and see exactly what happened here.
Watch Lombardi. Watch him get wide coming in. It's a fast entry, obviously coming in off the oval at 150 miles an hour. He just gets loose and gets into the grass. Now, my guess is going sideways, and he pretty good hit to the wall. He probably also was speeding in the pits, which may
be a penalty.
May extend his pit stop. Remember, he's in the battle for the points championship, an effective 2-point difference in he and Jeff Cranston. Critical that he has a good stop. He is still in the pits right now. Cranston may have just caught a break.
Yeah, so it has been a rough evening for the folks from Team Esport Racer. All right, so Larry, as Hartley is rejoining there, and well, look at this. Travis Schwenke, I think now, is at least on track directly behind Robert Hartley. These two up at the top of the order still have not come in.
Got to be soon here between Leo Dragota and Kevin Ford. They're kind of helping each other out a little bit. We'll see if that helps in the long run. Of course, Dragota in the AM lead, trying to hold off a Husty, and then, of course, Kevin Ford trying to hold off a Jeff Jacobs. So they're helping each other accomplish their goals at this point. But we're pretty sure, at least, that once these two do stop, as well as Husty and Jacobs, Eric Violet should resume to the lead as the pro category leader, whereas Robert Schwenkler being the AM category leader right now, about 4 seconds effectively behind Eric Violette. So these two are trying to stay in that hunt as long as they can.
All right, well, let's do this, Larry. We're a little bit past the top of the hour, 9:05 Eastern time now here at Daytona, and you can see it is starting to get somewhat dark there in northern Florida. Let's take a quick little break. We'll thank some of our partners and sponsors as we now have the two remaining D2D e-racers, David Payton and Brennan Horn, come down the pit lane. That is from the lead. It looks like Jeff Cranston and Chuck Labano have followed suit as well. Let's go. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take you all the way to the checkered flag here at Daytona at the World Center of Racing, where you are watching the season finale of the Ricmotech Extreme Motorsports Touring Car Cup presented by Performa Elite. We'll be right back.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
And welcome back to round number 11, the season finale, the season 23 finale of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, presented by Performa Elite. I want to thank, of course, once again and always, our title sponsor, Ricmotech High Performance Sim Racing Equipment, and our presenting sponsor, Performa Elite. You can find them at performaetg.com. And Larry, not much has changed since we went to break, with the exception that Kevin Ford and Leo Dragata have now swapped positions. So Ford is your overall leader, Dragata running second, but neither racer nor Jeff Jacobs running third overall at the moment. Neither of those drivers have come down the pit lane to take the fuel we know that they're going to need to get to the checkered flag. Eric Violette, then Robert Schwenkler, Scott Banks, Bobby Childs, all behind and running fourth, fifth, and sixth. And here we go, coming down the pit lane, both Ford and Dragata. They're at the same time, and we'll see here. Jeff Jacobs, though, stays out on track.
Interesting.
And Violette now moves up into second place overall. And we can see Violette, he's not that far behind Jeff Jacobs. Again, Jacobs was running, seventh or eighth, I believe, in club sport before he started to cycle up from the pit stops there. But Jacobs at the moment in the silver and blue SCCA Foundation machine, currently your leader.
Well, we'll see where those guys come out from their pit stops. So Eric Violette still, though, leading the pro category once Jeff Jacobs takes his spot, takes his pit stop. We'll expect Eric Violette to resume in the lead. The battle, though, between Schwenkler, your now actual AM leader, and as well as Scott Banks and Bobby Childs, those three are kind of locked in. So we'll get to them in a few minutes as we've got this Mazda battle going on, still with Hartley leading the way.
And Larry, look at this. It took 45 minutes, but it's now a 4-horse race in the Mazdas. As we have 2 go high, 2 go low.
Very interesting that they're staying away from each other, almost trying to avoid any side draft to make clean passes. Hartley able to take the tight line through one and hold on to the back of Peyton, but it's going to come down to the next 15 minutes. This is what Hartley told us in the pre-race interview. He said, I just want to be in it. I just want to make sure that there's a chance coming down to the end. He's got his wish so far, even after a bit of a slow start at the beginning, but he's got 3 others that want it just as badly as he does. And 2 of those are teammates there, of course, with Brennan Horn and David Payton. And Jeff Cranston, the AM leader, just wants to stay away from Chuck Labano and Ray Lombardi, and he's doing that right now pretty well.
And 2 weeks ago, Owen Horn has a little bit of an issue there going into the horseshoe. You know, we were talking about this 2 weeks ago at Bathurst, and just as we were starting to bring it up, wasn't it Cranston? Was it Cranston who ended up getting taken out?
There were a lot of last lap issues. At Bathurst a week ago.
Yeah.
That was a rough last couple of minutes of those races. So a little bit different here, we hope. But I tell you what, it's going to be pretty exciting. These guys now are testing the draft. How close do you need to be? How far back can you be to make a run out of the bus stop and take the win, be ahead at the stripe? So they're checking their mirrors. They're watching this as they're going down the back straight now towards the bus stop. But it's all about calculations. Where can you be when it comes time?
Well, and even with the Toyota mixed in there, you could see coming into the bus stop, they were all able to get back nose to tail. And a little bit further behind, this is Chuck Labano, Chuck Labano and Ken Copeland.
Yeah, Copeland, who had been a little higher up earlier in the race, now he finds himself a little bit further down the order, still 5th in the pro category. Chuck Labano 2nd in the AMs.
Yeah, like I said, it's been a difficult night for Team Esport Racer. Copeland's been fairly clean tonight. I don't want to jinx it, but he's fallen a little bit back through the order, and he's going to come underneath Labano. Copeland running 5th in pro right now. Labano running 2nd in AM to Jeff Cranston, who's in that in the front pack there. So Labano's got a pretty good distance, a number of cars that he'd have to make up to bring it to Cranston. And again, I think also in that class, pretty close running, as Labano, I think coming into the evening, if I remember right, was running 3rd in class. I'm trying to pull up all my notes. Yes, Jeff Cranston leading Street Tuner AM coming into the evening with 207 points. Ray Lombardi with 193, but we said with the drops came out to like maybe a 2-point spread, and then Chuck Labano another 9 points back.
Well, Jeff Jacobs has finally made his pit stop, which means the leader of the race is Eric Violette, and is the leader in AM. 2nd overall in the race is Robert Schwenkler, about 4 seconds. And then, as you can see there, you had Schwenkler, Banks, and Childs dueling it out for that 2nd overall. 2 of those 3 are in pro. Of course, Schwenkler leading in the AM category. So Banks and Childs, that's for position. Both of them would love to catch up to Eric Violette, but I'm sure Bobby's okay letting Eric do his thing, as they are D2D teammates.
All right, and Jacobs has now rejoined down in 6th position in pro, 8th position overall.
Right there between the Husty and Jagoda, who are both then battling for. They're both battling for the AM 2nd place. Husty just a couple seconds in front of him. Jagoda now about 20 seconds behind Jeff Jacobs.
and Kevin Ford, who had is in that group as well. And then interesting to see there with Ford currently sitting 6th overall, 5th in pro, and he has both Husty and Jacobs between he and Leo Dragota. Again, not a battle in class because as Dragota is in our AM category running 3rd in AM.
I believe Dragota may have made a pit stop error when he came in. Of course, we saw him leading overall this race with he and Kevin Ford doing a little bit of bump drafting. I believe he got on the radio chatter and said that he had accidentally taken tires, did not intend to. Its pit stops a little longer than he wanted, and that's why you find Leo Dragota about 20 seconds or so behind these battles of Ford, Husty, and Jacobs there. With Tom Rathke, I think, right in front of them there in that white car, just entering, just in front.
Yep.
That's the 41 of Rathke. He's running 4th in pro, 5th overall. And Kevin Ford, I'm sure, would love that top 4 or top 5 in the race if he can catch up to him. He's only about a second back. There might be a little bit of draft stretching from Rathke to Ford. I think there is. He's got 10 minutes to get there. So we're just inside the almost to 51 minutes of this thing. So if you're Schwenkler, if you got anything left for Violet, now is the time to use it. If you don't, you better plan on holding off Bobby Childs and Scott Banks, who are locked into their old pro class battle. I'm sure both those guys would love to finish 2nd or 3rd, get the full podium in this field. We'll see if they're able to do it. But in those Mazdas, it's Hartley, it's Peyton, it's Cranston, it's Horan. And then they get that, I think that's Marlon Jones and one of our GR86s kind of the tail end of that group.
Yeah, he's just been hanging in on the backside of that that pack.
Trying to stay out of their fight, just kind of watching from a distance.
And and interesting to note here, Larry. We said coming into the evening that we thought Robert Hartley, we knew Robert Hartley was up by 2 points on Palakui Grant. We talked to Palakui after the World Challenge race last week, and we didn't know for sure if he was going to be here this evening to try and pick up his 2nd championship after taking home the GTP championship in the World Challenge. And no Palakui Grant, who came into the evening just 2 points back from Robert Hartley in Street Tuner Pro.
Unfortunately, it's too bad he couldn't be here. He did say he's got to take some time off, got some moving to do, so he'll be doing that. I'm sure he'll be listening in as we go on week to week. I'm looking forward to getting Palakui one of the best interviews that we ever get.
Yes.
And so I can't wait till he gets back in and starts winning again. That'll be fun. Wish him the best in his move, but that means tonight, Hartley's got other competition to focus on. He's got a whole group from there. Interesting watching this is Jeff Cranston for a moment there took the chance to draft and pass Hartley. He's a little slide there, but that means that Cranston actually gets a lap for leading the overall of the Mazdas, and he's staying up on points. So not only is he going to get first place or AM points, but the points are actually based on where you are overall in your category. So if he can finish 2nd in category, he'll get 2nd place overall in Mazda points, which should solidify, or could, I should say, solidify the AM in the ST Pro class or ST AM class. It could solidify his position. So he's trying everything, even though on track, you can see even on our timing tower there, his nearest competitor is Chuck Lomano, about 12 seconds back. So Cranston doesn't need to take any chances, but he's certainly trying to maximize what he's got in front of him. Also keeping an eye on the deltas at the very front of the field. Eric Violet and Robert Schwenkler. Schwenkler's taken about 2 seconds out. It was about 4.5 seconds a bit ago. It's down to just a little over 2.5 seconds. But the battle side by side is here. Your AM leader and your pro leader in your STs pushing each other along as they go run the banking here in Daytona. Meanwhile, Peyton and Horan, I think they're conjuring up some team strategy there from D2D to see what they can do to get past the two in front of them, get past the Craney and the Orion cars.
And Larry, I don't know if you saw it there with Jeff Cranston under braking going down into turn 1. He again had the rear end step out on him.
Yeah, I wonder if his rear tires are starting to show some wear, maybe even overheating at this stage of the race. He's got to really be cautious. Maybe put a little brake bias back to the front just in case. Keep that rear end cool.
I mean, we're looking at probably only another 2.5 laps or thereabouts. We're at 5 minutes. 5 minutes left on the clock, which would be enough for 3 laps almost. So we'll see here. But yeah.
Yeah.
We may see him start to dial things back just a little bit. Now let's jump back up, Larry, and this is the battle for second overall.
Yeah,
but
what we're saying might be the reason why Schwenkler is getting closer to Violet, because he's getting help. He's got Scott Banks and Bobby Childs pushing. Now, Bobby may not be helping. He's just kind of saying, no, you guys go ahead and let him run away.
Do it.
Yeah, he would love to see a D2D guy win this race, but I think Schwenkler and Banks are saying this is our chance. If we can push around the oval, maybe in 5 minutes we can get there. It's going to be really tough. Jeff Jacobs there, though. He's currently 6th in the race, 4th in class. He's looking to hold on to this position just ahead or just behind Brad Hussey. But I think the Schwenkler Banks Childs grouping is a pretty solid one. And of course, those 4 Miatas at the front of the MX5 pack, all now trying to figure out what to do in their next 2 to 3 laps.
And as we watch Husty and Jacobs, Husty's getting a little, I think, I don't want to say, he's not getting defensive with the gap here, but he is certainly looking to maintain that position over Bobby Childs currently. We saw as he was trying to work his way through some of that slower traffic, the Mazda traffic.
Yeah.
And we'll see here as they come onto the oval. And Husty currently running second in Club Sport AM, and Jacobs just off the podium right now in Pro, currently running 4th in Pro.
Yeah, all these guys trying to maximize some points. See where they can end up. This is our finale. There's no more chances to get points once we get to the next 4 minutes, and if somebody sees a checker, this is it. So get your finish positions decided. Figure out your strategy. How do you lock in what you can reach? Do it now.
It's just I'm always amazed watching these Toyotas and how soft they are set up, and you could see as the nose just got buried into the ground there as Brad Husty got on the binders to go into the bus stop, and then almost immediately when he transitions back to the gas, the car just really squats, the nose goes up in the air, and back to it. Let's jump back over to the Mazdas. And here we are with Jeff Cranston, currently your leader, with Robert Hartley running in second. Cranston is your AM leader and leading all the Mazdas at the moment as Hartley drafts up behind.
Yep, choosing not to pass as they come up to the bus stop. You don't want to go side by side there. Had they been getting the same positions up on the front straight, maybe he would have dived to the inside down into 1. But going into the bus stop, single file is the only way to go for Hartley. He would love to be able to have he and Cranston pull away and make this a 2-car fight. But I'm looking at those D2D boys right behind them. They're using the leapfrog method as Horan stays low. Peyton goes high. Peyton's going to try and catch some draft off of Hartley now, who runs high.
And so, Larry, knowing and knowing at the moment that I think sitting 3rd in the championship is Brennan Horn, and he doesn't have any wins on the season, and he's showing his only being without the drops 9 points back from Hartley. And as we are now at 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining, so I believe, Larry, that we should be now, I mean, it depends on where the Toyotas are, but we're likely going to be on the final lap.
I suspect that race leader Eric Violet is probably somewhere on the back straight. Should catch a white flag the next time by. Yeah. There he is on the banking. So the next time he comes by, he's got 1 whole minute before we hit the 60. So I think this should be his white flag lap here.
Indeed. Yep, there you go. White flag. You can see it now waving in the air. So the Mazdas, they've got about 1.5 laps to get this worked out. And we'll get back to them in in just a moment here as we're watching this battle for second overall between Schwenkler, Scotty Banks, and Bobby Childs. And Banks and Childs, that is the battle for second in pro currently.
Bobby wants this 1-2 in a bad way, and you can see it. Look at the aggression now as he goes along the inside of Banks, not giving up that position. Even if it means that they let Schwenkler win the AM between them, Bobby at least wants the pro class 1-2 for D2D. Banks is going to do everything he can, maybe on the bad pun, on the banking. He may even have to make a move. But these guys in the Mazdas, they have not, I don't believe, they have seen a white flag yet.
No, they should get it this time by.
I think Eric Violet's behind them.
Yeah, and so this was the oddity. What I was thinking about earlier, Larry, and now that Hartley has gotten around Cranston, I don't know if it's going to be an issue or not. But I figured coming out of the bus stop the last time, if Hartley was in second, he'd probably try to go high on Cranston. At which point you could have the two D2D cars kind of just leave them out to dry.
Yeah,
on the
well,
outside.
you had said earlier coming into tonight, the points for Brennan Horn probably the most critical for anybody here who needs a win more than anybody. Yet he still sits in fourth as they take the white flag lap. So Brennan is going to have to get around a teammate plus two others if he wants to win this thing. And look at the pack behind them of the Toyotas coming through. There's a lot of folks that want to make their way through this. I don't think they're going to be allowed to because these Mazdas are going to be battling it out. But if you're Brennan Horn, you need to get around Peyton now and then have a shot of taking two on the last lap.
And I was very surprised that Peyton took the point going down into turn one 2 laps ago. Here as coming now down, and he is going to take the checkered flag, taking the win in Club Sport Pro. It is Eric Violet for D2D E-Racing driver of the number 89 machine. I think that's win number 8 on the season. And here we go, coming now and taking well, let's see.
Second overall was Bobby.
Bobby, I was going to say they've already taken the checkered flag. Looked like they're going into one. So Bobby Childs gets around Schwenkler and manages to hold off Banks. So Bobby Childs is going to finish second overall, second in Club Sport Pro. Scott Banks, will finish third in class and overall. And Robert Schwenkler, I don't know if he just let them go by. He comes home, takes the win in AM, finishes in fourth. Now here we've got our Mazdas for the very last time as they come into the bus stop. And once again, and I don't know if this is where he wants to be, Jeff Cranston is your leader coming out of the bus stop as the fireworks go off in the air. And 1, 2, 3 right now in pro directly behind him. It is Hartley. And then
watch Peyton because Hartley went low. Hartley stayed behind Cranston before they got to the bus stop, so he'd be second. But look at Peyton on the outside. He might get a push from Brennan Horan. Great strategy move. You look at the track position, and Hartley's going to go around. Oh, no!
Oh, my. And before they get to the checkered flag, Hartley goes around. Jeff Cranston is going to slot in behind David Payton. David Payton is going to win the race in Mazdas tonight in the number 64 machine. He will take the win in Street Tuner Pro. Jeff Cranston will finish second in Mazdas. He will finish first in Street Tuner AM. Then Marlon Jones and then Schwenke and Brennan Horan got caught up in that as well, Larry. Travis Schwenke at the end ends up getting around Brennan Horan, and this is that spin at the very end could have been the saving grace for Brennan Horan, and unfortunately it just doesn't work out for him.
Unbelievable. Hartley had done everything he could to position himself ahead of Cranston and make sure that he blocked Cranston in and was going to make Peyton go the long way around, but the two of them just got tangled. The stewards are looking at the contact between Jeff Cranston and Rob Hartley. I personally don't know there's much they can do about it. We'll let them decide. We'll probably go off and take a quick break, but what a heartbreaking way for Rob Hartley to end what was otherwise a spectacular race.
Yeah, it would have been a great race after he had fallen all the way to the back of the field and worked his way back up. All right, so Larry, let's do this. Let's take a quick little break. Thanks to our partners and sponsors. And when we come back, we'll talk to our 4 class winners tonight, whoever they may be. here from Daytona International, where you have just seen the season finale, round 11 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup. We'll be right back.
Allow Extreme Scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
And welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, where you've just seen the season 23 seasons of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, presented by Proforma Elite. And let's take a look at our final standings here. We'll break it down here by class. Let's start off with the Street Tuners and our AM category, where Jeff Cranston took the win over Chuck Labano. Ray Lombardi, coming off a win a couple weeks ago at Bathurst, he will finish third tonight, with Mike Key and Robert Briss just off the podium. If we then take a look at Street Tuner Pro, David Payton taking the win, with Travis Schwenke seemingly, Larry, coming out of nowhere after that early incident that he had with Ray Lombardi. Brennan Horan will take the bronze, with Ken Copeland and Robert Hartley, what could have been there, as he finishes fourth tonight. Now let's move over to the Toyotas and Club Sport. Taking the win in Club Sport and for the wrong stuff is Robert Schwenkler, with Brad Husty and Paul Carey rounding out your podium. And look how close that was in that battle for second, with Husty, Carey, Jones, Ruddock was right in there as well, and then Leo Dragota, who got some time leading this race, comes home in fifth, and then in Pro, Eric Violette wraps up a great season for him, taking the win here tonight at Daytona. His teammate Bobby Childs, great moves on the very last lap, comes home second in Pro, with Scotty Banks finishing third for Team Volta, and then Jeff Jacobs from SCCA Foundation just finishing off the podium. All right, so Larry, we've got some of our race winners sitting in the green room, waiting patiently for us. Let's do this. Let us bring in, and actually I only have two of them right now. Let's bring in. Ooh, and we just got word of a 30-second penalty for Jeff Cranston, who was our AM category winner in Street Tuner.
That's going to have an impact, as 30 seconds puts him behind.
I
think Chuck Labano.
I was going to say, Lee, can you bring up the Street Tuner AM finishing order, because that'll show the gaps. And okay, so so it
it'll
looks
drop
like
him.
so that with only And what did we say the penalty was? A 30
30
second
seconds.
penalty? Yeah, so
So Chuck Labano should end up being the race winner here tonight. Cranston's
Yeah.
probably going to end up second based on the times there. Probably not
Exactly.
enough to get all the way down to Lombardi. That may not have an impact on the points. We'll let the guys calculate points. Maybe we'll go ahead and talk to, though, perhaps our club sport and race winner.
That's just what I was thinking. Let's bring in Robert Schwenkler, driver of the number 235 Club Sport AM Toyota, our winner tonight.
Robert Schwenkler's coming in here tonight. We got a Club Sport AM winner, and Robert, boy, you mixed it up with all of them tonight. You had the car on pole tonight, right there with Eric and Bobby and Scott the whole night. That had to be some of the most exciting racing that it was from our view.
Yeah, man, it was a blast. It was really, really fun. I didn't get a lot of practice in. I was out of town all weekend, so I literally got home a couple hours before the race started. So, yeah, I was really happy with the result.
Well, the rust did not show at all. Like I said, you put that thing right on the pole tonight. We're just flying right from the get-go. And then even coming out of the pit stops, Eric looks like he had a real fast stop, was able to get out in front. But you weren't done because you had that battle going on with both Scott Banks and with Bobby Childs. What kind of strategies are you working on towards the end? Were you saying, hey, I'm just going to win this thing for AM, or are you thinking I want to be second overall ahead of these guys?
Well, I took some damage on the pit exit. I was eyeing Eric coming around, and I think I smacked the wall hard enough to take some aero, and so I think I was holding those. I actually think I was holding Scotty and Bobby up, and I was trying to give Scotty the like take the inside. My mic wouldn't key up in sim, so yeah. If I was holding them up, I apologize. It was not my intention. I was just trying to stay in the draft, to be honest. After I took that damage, it was just like, oh, I just got to hold on. So.
Yeah, absolutely crazy night, but great racing. All four of you guys in a train there for about 35 minutes. No one wanted to really flinch. Everybody seemed to get their shots at the front. You were up there. Eric's up there. Bobby's up there. At that point, at least going into the pit stops, you think, I not only am, but maybe I could win this overall.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out. I think when I was behind Scotty there, he had a little mishap going into the banking. And so from there, I was just like, well, I'm not in no man's land. I figured I should just bail when I had a chance. And I don't know, I kind of had a brain fart there for a minute and forgot to pit. And I was like, well, I guess I'm doing another lap. Honestly, I was just hoping I'd come back out and catch somebody's draft.
Well, a solid night tonight. Commanding win here in the M category of Club Sport. Great way to wind up the season. You signed up for next season. We're going to see you again?
Yeah, I'm definitely doing TCC again, and I'm going to do SDS as well. So
awesome. Yeah, looking forward to that. For your victory here tonight, you got a lot of wrong stuff teammates, but anybody else want to give a shout out to it? Big thanks for the victory.
Yeah, big thanks to the team for all the support. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Eric. He was helping me out in practice on Wednesday. I don't think he thought I'd take a pole, but nonetheless, it was shout out to him for that. Also to all of our sponsors, You Be Safe, Dangerous.net, Maconi Setup Shop, Sim Motion, and Bruzy. Thanks to all those guys for supporting the team. Really appreciate y'all's help.
Well, awesome job tonight, taking the victory in Club Sport and wind out the season. Robert Schwenkler, good job.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right, there you go, Larry. So let's now move on to our Club Sport Pro and overall winner tonight, driving for G2D eRacing in the number 89 Toyota GR86 Cup car, Eric Violet.
All right, Eric has joined us, and Eric, great race tonight. The four of you put on a show, and you managed to get them all coming out of the pits and then turn on the afterburners and hold them off. But a solid race and a lot of fun with that group. It must have been a blast out there.
Yeah, you know what? Bobby's down there. Can you just pull us in as a group? Well,
sure. Why not?
Do we have to?
And also, David
Bobby's not there now. He left.
He did.
Oh.
Bobby. He got camera shot.
He went in the grass and hit the wall in the staging area.
If he comes back, he's trying to figure out how to get David into the waiting room. For some reason, he can't get in there. So Anyway, I messaged Lee. Hopefully, they can get him in here. But anyway, if Bobby comes back in the waiting room, feel free to bring him in. So anyway, how you doing, guys?
We're doing great, and great night for D2D. As it sounds like we're trying to get the whole group in here. But awesome night for D2D. Awesome night for you. Great way to wind up the championship. I'm not even seeing the points updated yet. It will be in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. you've won yourself a championship in Club Sport Pro here in the TCC. So awesome job. Congrats. And how do you feel?
Great. I'll say whoop whoop. It was, yeah, that was a crazy one. I wasn't sure how tonight was going to go. Bobby and I had a strategy, and it didn't play out exactly the way we wanted. We got the results we were after, but yeah, I had to lead a lap to figure out exactly how much fuel I needed. I was cutting it really close. I mean, I sputtered on the way back to the finish line, so Bobby got the slowdown right as we were going to go pit together, and I was like, he's like, just go ahead. I'm like, all right. So I saw the headlights from Robert when I was going through turn 1. I saw his headlights in the pit exit, and I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be close. So yeah, they started running me. They finally got organized and started running me down. If there had been about 2 more laps, I think I would have been done.
Yeah, they were making quite a push at the end there. In fact, Robert said he had actually grabbed some damage by rubbing the wall coming out of the pits from that pit stop. Otherwise, he might have been a little quicker as well. So, but it came down right to it, to where it's just the pit stop strategy as well as your overall pace. 1 for you here tonight, and we could probably grab Bobby and pull him in because he had a solid, great race here, finishing second overall. Why don't we grab?
Hey, there he is.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
Bobby, you've joined us as we're talking to Eric, the whole D2D gang here. Bobby, a 1-2 for you guys. You got to be just loving it. You are full hooting and hollering tonight.
I am as excited as I can be. Good Lord, it was a legit 1-2 this time. No accident like at Bathurst. I just survived, right? But this time it was just straight up. I mean, Eric put together such a great setup for the race. I had another one that had a lot of pace, but it was unstable. And Eric's like, look, man, we're going to throw this on. And man, it just did everything I wanted it to. I made a couple of mistakes myself. Once we got back together with the draft pack, we just couldn't quite catch Eric. I think Robert had a little front end damage, but man, we were pushing hard. And once I saw that white flag, I was like, nah, man, it's time to go. And go we did.
Yeah, you guys were solid all night long. You had that bit of a course cut or something right before you took your pit stop that kind of set you back a little, but you turned on the afterburners when it came down to you and Scott and Robert toward the end. You wanted that 1-2 bad.
I definitely did, because the setup Eric put together and the work he's done with me, just trying to get me to be better. It deserved no less than a 1-2, and some of the mistakes I made were from trying a little too hard. I had to calm down a little bit and remember, that I'm faster when I'm not trying to be fast. So it just, man, all props to Eric, and a huge shout out to Dave Payton, man. How long has it been since Payton won a race? Oh my gosh, this is a banner night for D2D.
Yeah, if we can't get him in here, I'll be a little bit bummed, because he had a heck of a night as well. Huge battles going on it started with about 9, got down to about 4 in the Mazdas, and at the end, he comes out on top as well. So yeah, great night for D2D, and I'm sure between the two of you got some D2D folks who want to give a shout out here for the success this season and for tonight.
Take it away, Eric.
Oh, of course, Pro Forma Elite. It's great that they sponsor the league, sponsor our team. It's always nice to have someone supporting you like that. The league, Extreme Motorsports, all the admins over there. I know Ryan, the race steward, doesn't get a lot of love, so shout out to him. I know he's got a tough job. Ricmotech for being the primary sponsor, and of course you guys for the broadcast. Thanks to everybody who watches the broadcast, even if they're not fans of D2D. The more people that have eyes on this, talk about it, join the league, all kinds of stuff. So thanks to everybody there, my family, and especially my wife. In the last 2 weeks, life's been a real pain in the butt. So thank you guys. Great season.
Yep. Great guys in the broadcast booth, and a big shout out to Stubby out there wherever he is. And David's finally in the interview. David finally made it to the green room. So yeah, you've got a genuine, authentic Kiwi/Canadian waiting to talk to you.
Oh my
God. How much more international can Ricmotech be?
I'm gonna let you guys go. I know it's a long night for you guys, so thank you guys again.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Thanks
so much
Bobby.
to Eric Violet, our winner tonight in Club Sport Pro, and the other guy.
Yeah, and the other guy who finished second tonight, Bobby Childs. Great race for him. And then just to wind up the point standings for Club Sport Pro, Eric Violet takes the championship this season. Scott Banks second on that season podium, and Tom Rathke third place in Club Sport Pro. And then while we're hitting it, I think we've got Club Sport Am. Just want to hit those before we start talking with the Super Street Tuners. Club Sport Am, Joy Rutledge, I believe, is going to be our winner there. Tom Jenkins, Russ Ruddock, your next two.
That's right. And
Joy
Russ
Rutledge,
only 2 points out of second.
And Rutledge
there, so
actually is
real
in
close.
the green room.
Oh my!
Even though he didn't run tonight, we want to have a quick word with our Club Sport Am.
Why don't we do that? We'll bring in Joey Rutledge, who is our Club Sport Am Season 23 champion.
Joey, I know you didn't get a chance to run tonight. Maybe there's a story with there or not, but looking at the point standings, you got yourself a championship in Club Sport Am. How you feeling? And you're still on mute. There you are.
Yep. No, I'm there. Sorry. I'm joining on my phone. I'm a couple states away, so I wanted to call in because I was watching the whole stream. But yeah, it was a great season, so not much more to say about that.
Yeah, awesome job. You're quick enough and really good all season long to get yourself the championship. Didn't even need to be at the Daytona tonight, but I'm sure you're listening in and probably somewhere you're wishing, man, it would have been fun to be in that group and right there in the draft.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, we all do it for fun. None of us are professionals, right? Even though we want to be. But if I can't win, you know what I mean? Robert Schwenkler, super glad when he can. So that's awesome.
Yep, picking up the torch there for the wrong stuff. Awesome job for you, for Rob tonight, of course, getting the win in the AM category. Championship, though, is all yours. Are we going to see you again back next season?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Probably in pro, I'd imagine. But yeah, definitely we'll be back. So.
Awesome stuff. Well, Joy Rutledge, glad you could at least join us a couple of states away from your sim rig, but congratulations for that season victory.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, there you go. Joey Rutledge. Larry, let's move over because he has rejoined the chat, or he's come back to the green room. Chuck Labano, who and talk about the big surprise there on the last lap with the 30-second time penalty being given to Jeff Cranston. Chuck Labano, your winner tonight in Street Tuner Am.
All right, so Chuck, a crazy finish to a wild night there. You just kind of hung around. You made sure that you were staying clean, but you had to be kind of keeping an eye on those gaps to where Jeff and the gang was. What was your view of how that thing wound up?
Well, first, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'll have to look at the broadcast and see what happened there. But the reality is I thought I was doing great until lap 3 when I got my first slowdown at the bus stop. So it actually caused me to lose the draft at the back. So I spent a big chunk of my race just alone, doing in my own, anger, and just wondering what the hell was going to go on. So the fact that I'm even up here, I had no idea that was even going to happen. My big goal was just to finish the race today.
Yeah, and sometimes that is one of the best goals to have because you can't win the thing if you crash out early on. So awesome job tonight getting that victory here, but I'm sure you got some folks you want to give a special thanks to here.
Yeah, I'd like to thank my wife. She's done really good at bringing me stuff in the pits when I need it. Frito Sport does a really good job helping us. Edgar does a lot of support for the team. XMS, Proforma Elite, and you guys do such a great job. It's so professional. I wonder what I'm doing here.
Well, you really you got to stay in it. You've got the speed. You're right there. It seems each and every week, and tonight you get yourself a class victory. So congrats, Chuck, on a great way to wind up the season. Awesome.
Yeah, I can't end it any better. I still don't like the car though.
Well, another series, you can pick the other car, right? Back to the sports car series, I guess.
It's like golf. It's that one good shot that keeps you coming back.
Yeah, that's how it is. Welcome to motorsports, just like golf. So congrats, Chuck, and I'm sure we'll see you in the next series.
We'll see you next season, guys.
All right,
Thanks.
There you go. Chuck Labano from Frito Sport Racing, your winner tonight in Street Tuner Am, and finishing third in the Season 23 championship. Jeff Cranston, I think even with that time penalty, he is going to take the Street Tuner Am championship. Ray Lombardi will finish second, and then Chuck Labano finishes third in the championship. All right, so Larry, let's do this. Let's move over finally to Street Tuner Pro, and taking the win tonight for D2D eRacing, driving the number 64 Mazda MX-5, David Payton.
David Payton, you've got to be exhausted after one heck of an intense battle that comes down to the last corner of the last lap. But I just got to ask, when you see spinning in front of you, do you just cold trickle and aim for the smoke and go high, or how do you clear that and end up winning this thing?
Yeah, you just hold on for dear life, close your eyes, and hope for the best. That was an amazing race. I wasn't expecting to be there at the end. My buddy Chris, he should have been there, but he turned and won, and I clipped him a little bit going around turn one. But yeah, what an amazing race.
Oh, just incredible with the four of you up in there. You had your teammate there, Brennan, there working along. Those guys couldn't have been more excited for you for taking this victory. They really worked hard to make sure that you were able to get in here in the chat, and it's got to mean something special when you got a team like that behind you who really wants to see you succeed.
Amazing team. What a great bunch of guys. Big shout out to Bobby. He's a real emotional kind of guy, and he keeps us motivated. He's a great motivational speaker. He's funny. So a big shout out for Bobby. He does amazing work for the team, all the painting he does and keeping us all together. But big shout out to my buddy Chris Thorman too. Me and him, we spent a lot of time on the setups, and at sort of before the race, we kind of decide, okay, well, am I going to run my version of the setup, or am I going to run Chris's version? And tonight I ran Chris's version of the setup, and it was amazing. A little loose as the fuel came out of it, but it got me to the end. So big shout out to Chris. Brennan, Horan, what a fantastic guy. Palakui, unfortunately, couldn't make it tonight. Eric, Bobby, Brendan Whitworth, what a great bunch of guys.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all those guys. We've had them in for different interviews. They are an absolute blast to talk to, and so glad to be able to get you in here for the interview as well. It's certainly one of the cornerstones here of the D2D team. But you've got a great team there. But anybody else? I'm sure you got some other folks you want to mention and give thanks for getting this victory here tonight.
Yeah, Ricmotech and Proforma Elite for the sponsorships. Kevin, Jeff, they run an amazing league. Ryan Cobb, he has a thankless job, but he does a great job. So I'd like to thank him. And you guys at Apex, you do an amazing broadcast. Really enjoy watching the races.
Yeah, well, awesome job for you tonight, getting a victory in the Mazdas. Couldn't be any sweeter than that. So David Payton, go and enjoy the night for sure. It's yours to celebrate.
Thank you very much, guys.
All right, there you go. David Payton, driver of the number 64 Mazda MX-5 for D2D eRacing. And Larry, as we go and start to wrap things up, let's run down the championship standings in Street Tuner Pro, where Robert Hartley manages to hold on to the season 23 championship by 5 points over Brennan Horan there, and finishing third in the championship. And I'm sure he would have loved to be here to fight it out to the end. Palakui Grant finishes 10 points out of the championship with Ken Copeland and Jordy Fike, your top 5. All right,
I think
so
Robert probably would have been in here to be interviewed and celebrate, but I think he might have smashed his entire sim rig after the back of the last lap. Speculation only.
Yeah, or at least a portion of it.
It's a rough way to end, but yeah, at least at the end he still gets that championship. So congrats, Rob, and hopefully you can still celebrate a little bit tonight.
All right, so Larry, let's wrap things up and take a look at what we've got coming up. So we may have just finished up season number 23 of the Touring Car Cup, but and we're going to have the Touring Car Cup returning in January. But life goes on, and next week is the Season 5 premiere of the Ricmotech Sports Car Series for our GT4 and now LMP3 cars. We're going to be at Virginia International Raceway for a 60-minute battle royale. Please join us next Monday night. And then in 2 weeks, the Ricmotech World Challenge returns for season number 8. And you don't have to go all that far. We're going to be here. Seemingly, this is where we start off almost every season. We're going to be back here at Daytona for a 75-minute battle. Our GTP machines, the prototype machines, and GT3 cars. And if you want to go to xmsracing.com, I believe you can still sign up for the sports car series and for that new season number 8 of the Ricmotech World Challenge. So for Larry Lefty McLeod, for Lee Thompson, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we'll see you next Monday night from Virginia International Raceway. Have a great week, everybody.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.